Update. Boyfriend's best friend came out and has feelings. Original post. My boyfriend, 28 male, and I, 32 female, have been together for 3 years. He is insanely social and I am more of a stay in and do crafts kind of person, but it works. Recently, our schedules have been pretty opposite, and we usually only see each other 3 days a week. He has a best friend, Thomas, 33 male, who is recently going through a divorce with a woman and has been spending a lot of time with him. I have always gotten the vibe that Thomas was queer in some form, just by the way he talks about men. He recently came out to my boyfriend and told him it's the real reason for his divorce. My boyfriend is very straight and doesn't really know a lot of gay people, but I have a ton of queer friends and told him to be extra sensitive and treat Thomas like he is no different. When my boyfriend told me about Thomas, I told him that I was proud of him for living his true life, but hopefully the soon-to-be ex-wife is doing okay. They have been spending a lot of time together and Thomas frequently stays over at his place because he works in the city but lives like 45 minutes away. They work together, so obviously I understood the convenience factor and I was happy they were having fun. My boyfriend left out a major part of Thomas coming out, in my opinion, that Thomas also said he's had a crush on my boyfriend since they met and has feelings for him. I asked him when he told him that, and he said around a month ago. I know my boyfriend wouldn't cheat, and I am very confident he doesn't have feelings for men in general. But the thought of someone crushing on him, drinking with him, and sleeping over doesn't feel great to me. I don't ever want to be the type of partner that isolates someone from a friend, but I want to set a boundary. I'm not sure what that boundary needs to be because based on my initial reaction, my boyfriend said he will just stop hanging out with Thomas, and I said I am not asking him to do that. I explained to him that if I had someone who had a crush on me sleep over regularly, he would feel weird about that, and he agreed. I really don't know how to handle the situation and feel like I almost sound homophobic setting boundaries after Thomas just came out. Now for the top advice before reading the update. If nothing else, it's not healthy to spend this much time with someone you fancy, who is in a relationship or where it will never happen. This was my thought too. It definitely doesn't feel like Thomas respects our relationship right now. This is just basic relationship boundaries. You don't have people sleeping over who are sexually interested openly in you and or your partner unless you are into that. Going to echo this. My good friend came out to me and then a few weeks later told me he was into me. I am not gay or bi. I was also in a relationship at the time. I had to have a frank discussion with him. I asked him if we could be friends, or if that would be too hard. He didn't think we could be friends, so we drifted apart for a while. Later, after he had come out to everyone and was actively dating, we connected and he told me that he knew I was safe, and he confused that safety with mutual attraction. He also told me that while I am his type, he overstepped and apologized. We're now good friends. Setting boundaries isn't a bad thing. It can be healthy. That's interesting and something I was taking into account as well, since Thomas is going through a lot of changes right now. My boyfriend is insanely kind and a great listener, so maybe Thomas is confusing some of his romantic feelings with safety. Now for the update. A few of you asked for an update, so here it goes. Some of you thought my boyfriend was secretly gay. Some of you thought I was a controlling, paranoid woman. But the majority of you told me I just need to have a long talk with my boyfriend, and that is what I did. I work at a cafe a few blocks away from my boyfriend's place, and luckily they let me have an hour-long break. So I got my boyfriend a breakfast sandwich and told him we really need to talk about Thomas. He responded with, "Yes, we definitely do." I told him that I know he's not a cheater, and I don't think anything would happen between the two of them. But Thomas always sleeping over when I am unavailable is making me uncomfortable. He told me Thomas was making him uncomfortable too, and he just hasn't taken the time to process all of this. He told me that he had a story from his childhood that he was deeply ashamed of. Basically, his good childhood friend came out to him freshman year and also said he had feelings for him. He responded very badly and told him to never talk to him again. He said his friend ended up quitting sports and getting severely depressed, and when he tried to apologize after high school, the friend told him he did not accept it. My boyfriend had tears in his eyes telling me this and said that he will never forgive himself for acting so cruel. He then broke down the exact conversation he had with Thomas. He said he was telling Thomas about a fun day we had at this local fair and how on the Ferris wheel he was looking at me and realized he wants to spend the rest of his life with me. He said Thomas gave him a strange look and told him he needed to tell him something. Thomas told him that the reason he is getting divorced is because he is gay and was never attracted to his wife. That's when he proceeded to tell my boyfriend that he is insanely attracted to him and he's his exact type of man. My boyfriend said he tried to respond basically opposite of his freshman self and just thanked him for being honest and open about himself. My boyfriend told me he realizes he should have told him explicitly that he doesn't feel the same, but figured he would know that based on the way he talks about me. One thing I had completely forgotten about is that Thomas is technically his boss now. I remember us all celebrating his promotion, but didn't put it together that he was his boss now. My boyfriend told me he felt pressured to still let him crash all the time at his place because of his divorce, and he tried to just pretend he didn't admit having feelings for him for the sake of their friendship. My boyfriend then had a talk with Thomas, and it didn't go well. He told Thomas that he would never have those feelings for him, and the sleepovers feel kind of weird now. Thomas blamed me and started calling me a controlling, abusive partner. But my boyfriend shut it down and told him that this was all coming from him and he should just start looking for his own apartment in the city. Later that night, I got a phone call from Thomas. I could tell he had been drinking a lot, but I hoped he was calling to apologize or at least compromise. That was not the case. He started off by saying that my boyfriend could do so much better than me and that I am just a scrappy gold digger. My boyfriend and Thomas work in finance, and I work at a cafe. So yes, my boyfriend makes a lot more money than me, but I still pay my own way in life. Thomas went on to say my boyfriend should be with someone in the same tax bracket as him, and then told me, "You're really not as pretty as you think, and you dress like a poor person." It pissed me off, so I told him he sounded like a snob douchebag, and he's only saying this because my boyfriend basically rejected him. He then told me that if he would have made a move at the right time, he could have convinced my boyfriend to cheat, which I found insanely creepy. He then started going off on a misogynistic rant about how women are just trying to trap all the attractive men and we are all horrible, blah blah blah. I ended up hanging up on him. I immediately called my boyfriend and he was pissed. I actually have never heard my boyfriend so mad, but he told me that Thomas is a creepy weirdo and he feels so gross that he was best friends with him for years. I told him he might want to have a talk with HR just to be safe so that Thomas doesn't retaliate and that the whole thing is insanely inappropriate, especially because it's his boss. I feel so bad for my boyfriend because he's lost his best friend and now his job will be freaking weird at the very least. The thing about my boyfriend is he loves his job and takes it very seriously. At first I felt like part of this was my fault, but after reflecting, I am happy I brought it to light because it sounded like Thomas was basically planning to sexually assault my boyfriend after a drunken night. My boyfriend has been sad today and took the day off, and I really wish I could fix things. I think he's nervous about work and I don't blame him, but it breaks my heart seeing him like this. We did take my dog to the beach, and my dog is such a goof and my boyfriend was laughing a lot, so that was good. Thank you everyone for all the advice and I really wish things didn't play out this way. This is a weirdly comforting update actually, because it just proves that men can be jealous, controlling douchebags regardless of their sexuality. Glad you guys dodged his bullet. Some of the most virulent misogynists I've ever encountered have been gay men. Take the misogyny of some of the worst straight men and throw in a blanket dislike of women's bodies and sexuality, and you can end up with a really nasty cocktail. I will never forget my coworker who loved going on about this or that ugly bitch with his saggy tits, who seemed to think he somehow had a pass to say that because he wasn't being cruel out of sexual objectification. This is just about how I expected it to play out. Been there, done that, but did get essayed by my very good friend, and was never able to tell the girl I was dating at the time that it happened. I've seen similar things happen with other friends. Your boyfriend is not wrong for wanting to be a good friend, but unfortunately it seems Thomas was hiding a lot more about his personality and intentions than just the fact that he was gay. I'm happy that you were able to have such open and honest conversations with your boyfriend about the situation, and that bodes well for your future together. I'm so sorry that happened to you, and I am so glad we stopped Thomas before it got to this point. Your boyfriend needs a lawyer ASAP, and then go to HR. He's going to talk to his uncle tomorrow, who is a lawyer, and ask him what he should do. We are both pretty clueless about what steps we need to take moving forward. Last story. How do I tell my friend I can't vacation with her boyfriend? Original post. One of my 27 female closest friends, Tara, 28 female, has been dating a guy, let's call him Nate, 31 male, for about 3 years now. They've recently taken the step of moving in together, which makes it clear that things between them are serious. At the beginning, I thought I liked Nate. He seemed fun, energetic, and the kind of extrovert who could bring life to a gathering. Tara is one of my dearest friends, so I wanted to get along with him for her sake. The truth is, Nate has always been a lot. In small doses, his personality could be entertaining. He's that person who is always the loudest in the room, drinks too much at every event, and insists on talking to every stranger in sight. Imagine the most fratty, extroverted guy you've ever met, and then stretch that energy into adulthood. That's Nate. In the past, I would laugh it off and chalk it up to his personality, but a recent visit really changed how I feel. Tara and Nate came to stay with me and my husband for a few days since we live several hours apart. At first, I was excited. They're good company, and I love having Tara around. But by day 3, I was about to blow. Nate's behavior, which had once seemed tolerable in short bursts, became absolutely exhausting when I was exposed to it around the clock. He would corner random women when we were out, talking their ears off while they looked visibly uncomfortable. He pulled stupid pranks, like hiding phones, and when people didn't laugh, he threw little tantrums. At times, it felt like I was babysitting a 7-year-old trapped in a 31-year-old man's body. By the 3rd night, I couldn't take it anymore. I told Tara and Nate I was too tired to go out, but the truth was, I was seething and needed space to cool down before I snapped. Here's the dilemma. Before this visit, my husband and I had been talking with them about taking a trip to Mexico together. Nothing has been booked yet, but we had plans forming. After this visit, though, I can't imagine being stuck with Nate for 5 days straight without tearing my hair out. I love Tara and value our friendship, but I don't know how to tell her. Do I make an excuse, even though we're usually honest? Or do I risk saying something that could drive a wedge between us if Nate really is her forever person? Any advice would be much appreciated. Now for the top advice before reading the update. You talked a lot about how his behavior affected you, but you never mentioned how it affects her. Does she love it and encourage it? Or does she ask him to stop or calm down? If she encourages it, then this is who she is and she's not going to change. If she asks him to calm down or looks embarrassed, then you should definitely be honest. Be honest now, or be honest in a blow-up screaming match in 14 months. When you ask her to come alone to an event and she brings him anyway because what's the harm? And he ruins the event with his pranks and BS. Rip the band-aid off now. This is a good point. She said to me that sometimes she loves it. She loves making new friends in bars and feeling like she can leave him alone at parties and go on her own adventure. But I also saw her get exasperated many times during the visit, and she was literally dragging him around like a toddler on a few occasions. She didn't say this bothered her to me, but she was obviously annoyed. This is also the best person she's dated, which isn't saying much as she's had a lot of abusive and alcoholic boyfriends in the past, so a part of me wonders if she's just used to some toxic behavior. One of my best friends had a girlfriend who was just plain old nuts. I was honest with him. I told him, "Brother, if you're happy, I'm happy for you, but that girl has some problems. I'll support you, and I'll even stand in your wedding if it comes to that. But in order to be a true friend, I have to be honest. You're going to have problems." He laughed, accepted it, and continued on dating her. We stayed friends like nothing had ever happened. A few months later, they broke up. I did not do any "I told you so" stuff. I just kept being his friend. A couple months after they had broken up, we were having a beer and out of the blue he goes, "You know, I never thanked you for being honest about Sarah." You telling me that got me to realizing how much I was overlooking. Turns out, my honesty and subsequent friendship was what he needed in order to make his own mind up about the situation. Maybe your friend needs to hear that you see it. You still love her, and she's got your support. It may not be ripping off a band-aid. It may just be showing that you care. I got this from the owner of my favorite late-night halal truck. He took one look at us and said, "My friend, be careful. She is crazy. No good for you." After my ex-husband and I broke up, it came out that a lot of people had, similar to your situation, come to dislike him after spending more time with him. But by that point, we were living together, so no one told me. I wish they had. I married the guy and dealt with years of emotional abuse that I'm still recovering from. My ex always had to be the center of attention, was very loud and kind of immature. Temper tantrums didn't appear until we got married, though. Anyway, I think it's fair to say, hey, Nate is fun to be around in short bursts. But what I realized when you two stayed together is after a few days I get overwhelmed because he is very energetic. I don't think a longer trip would be good. I worry I might get grumpy and I don't want to cause problems. Or something. You know your friend. I think this is a great way to frame it. Now for the update. Thank you so much for all the advice and stories. There were great examples of this conversation steering people in the right direction, and some sad ones where it went wrong, but thank you for sharing. I ended up telling her, as someone suggested, "Hey, I had a lot of fun when you and Nate came to visit, but I realized that while Nate is a lot of fun in short bursts, I get overwhelmed by the energy multiple days at a time. I'm worried that on a longer Mexico trip, I may get grumpy or annoyed. I love you a lot and I would love to do a trip with you, but I think I would struggle traveling with Nate." And because I have the best friend in the world, she said she appreciated my honesty and didn't want me to be miserable and suggested we just make it a girls' trip. She's using a different excuse to her boyfriend about my husband not being able to go, etc., to keep the peace. There were some good posts about red flags of his behavior, so when it's just us, I'm going to dig a bit and make sure everything's okay, and she knows what she's getting into. Thanks again all.